today we're going over entrepreneurship myths, and I'm going to be dispelling those myths. Many times people have, and what they believe is what they think about entrepreneurs and who entrepreneurs are, what they should be, what characteristics they should have, and because they feel like, oh, well, I don't fit this characteristic, therefore I wouldn't be a good entrepreneur. Well, I want to address, there's 10 myths I'm going to address in this Technique Tuesday, and hopefully it won't take too long. I'll be quick and it'll be worth your time. So the first myth is entrepreneurs are doers, not thinkers. Well, I will say that entrepreneurs are doers, but that doesn't mean that they're not thinkers. In fact, a lot of thinking and planning goes on as an entrepreneur. A lot of times we'll be, analyzing our market, researching and thinking about it. And, the whole reason that you become an entrepreneur is oftentimes because you've looked at the market, maybe you're part of your customer base, and there's a problem that you have or your audience has that isn't addressed in the marketplace, or isn't addressed as well as you feel like you could address it. And so this is why you become an entrepreneur. That is thinking, that is analyzing. And oftentimes we go through processes of planning our business and planning out the growth, and there's a lot of thinking going on. Oftentimes sometimes people might develop a marketing plan or a business plan. If you haven't developed a business plan, you don't have to, but you might be surprised if you look at the components of a business plan. You most likely have thought of many of those components already. So it's not a bad idea to put it down on paper so that you can remind yourself, and if you need to communicate it to anyone else, to a bank, investors, a large client or partner, that it's there for you. So we definitely are thinkers as well as doers. So we're both. Myth number 2, entrepreneurs are born, not made. And let me read some of this. I thought this was funny. It says that people think that they're innate traits that they're born with, or that have been prevalent for a long time. These traits would be aggressiveness, initiative, drive, willingness to take risks, analytical ability, and skills in human relations. And I laugh at that list because I know many entrepreneurs, and some of them have those skill sets and some of them don't. And we'll get to the profile mix later. But my point is that entrepreneurs are not born, just like athletes aren't just born an athlete. An athlete takes time, they practice, and they build up their skills so that they get to be good at whatever skill, whatever athletic ability they have, whether it's basketball or soccer, tennis, gymnastics, whatever it happens to be. And somebody could say, well, certain body type is better for certain athletic skills. Maybe it's like that for entrepreneurship. Well, if you look at football players, there's football players of lots of different sizes. If you might be a smaller size football player and you can find a position on that team where you can use your skill sets, it's more about passion than your skill sets. You can practice and you can develop those skill sets. In fact, it has now become more of a discipline to learn the processes and practices that will make you a better entrepreneur. So if you need to work on certain skill sets to become a better entrepreneur, there are resources out there for you. And in fact, I'm a resource for you. But in any case, dispelling that myth, your entrepreneurs are not born. I certainly did not see myself as an entrepreneur when I was a kid, a teenager. By the time I got into my 20s, I sort of had that entrepreneurial bug. And I definitely was going massively down that route. But in any case, it takes a long time to develop those skills. Or my point is, you can develop those skills if you don't already have them. Okay, number 3, entrepreneurs are inventors. Well, I would say that there's certainly a number of entrepreneurs that are inventors, but you don't have to just be an inventor. See, when you are an entrepreneur, you're more about, you're observing the market, and again, you could be your audience base, and you could be saying, well, there's a need that I have that I'm not meeting it. And what's the first thing you tend to do? Well, if you have a problem, you usually research, who can solve my problem? How can I solve my problem? And if you don't find a solution out there, that's when you start thinking, oh, okay, maybe I need to just create this myself. And through resourcefulness, you create it yourself. Sometimes as an entrepreneur, I've been doing this a long time. I used to, launch products and services and businesses in the corporate world. And the first thing I would do, if there was a problem in the industry, I would say, okay, let me look out there and see who has a solution for this. And it wasn't always a competitor or a direct competitor. It could be in a totally different industry, a totally different geographical area or country. And I'd say, look what they're doing. They have something that could help meet our need. Let me see if we can create that here for our audience. We might have to tweak it, massage it, fine tune it to make it work for our audience. But the first thing you do is look out there, see. You don't reinvent the wheel. You see, is there a wheel out there that I can make work better for my audience? And that's usually what entrepreneurs do. Sometimes there really isn't the wheel that you need that exists, and so you have to create it. But oftentimes, it's a lot of research and saying, okay, I can take best practice from that, best practice for that, and you make something. So it's not just descriptor for an entrepreneur. Okay, number 4, entrepreneurs are academic and social misfits. Well, check your internet connection. Okay, I'm gonna hit dismiss. Hope everything's okay. I actually take offense to that. Entrepreneurs are academic and social misfits. Certainly, we know that there are some entrepreneurs out there who did not do well academically and who might not be socially very active, and they have done well. But that's not the bulk of entrepreneurs. In fact, I was very good academically, so was my husband. I'm a college professor, so certainly I don't resonate with the idea that we're academic misfits. So, but there's a history to this, and that's why entrepreneurs got tagged this way. When it comes to education, whether it's middle school, high school, and certainly college, when they look at where they're sending people down a career path, it typically isn't entrepreneurship. In business schools, historically, they wanted to fill the corporate need, and so they were sending people down the business tracks that met those corporate needs. And because the entrepreneurs didn't fit into one of those buckets, they got labeled as not good academically and social misfits because they didn't fit into this perfect box that they were trying to push us down. And so we got mislabeled that historically. Now, today, you see that entrepreneurs are the heroes. We're the heroes that are solving the needs or the problems that other people haven't addressed yet. So we're the heroes in solving those problems. And trust me, there's always going to be new challenges and new problems as we evolve as humans, as the market changes, our society changes. There's always going to be new problems to solve. And entrepreneurs are usually the first ones out there who are trying to solve it in a creative way. So, myth number 5, entrepreneurs must fit the profile. And so this is very funny. I actually addressed this earlier in that I know lots of entrepreneurs, and they do not fit a certain profile. Um, the description was that they're aggressive. Well, I certainly don't consider myself aggressive. I consider myself assertive at times and decisive at times, but not aggressive. I also know entrepreneurs who aren't really great with human relations. In fact, they've usually teamed up with somebody to handle the human uh, uh, the human relations side of the business, whether it's interviewing or managing people, or so they've teamed up with somebody if that wasn't their strength. So keep in mind, you do not have to fit a narrow profile. There's lots of different entrepreneurs, we need lots of different types of entrepreneurs because that's how we're going to have all the creativity we need. My husband, for example, helps introverted entrepreneurs, and he considers himself an introvert, so he feels like, well, I'm going to help these introverted entrepreneurs, show how they can succeed as an entrepreneur because they don't typically fit this profile. And so that, yes, as an introvert, you can be very successful as an entrepreneur, and so he guides entrepreneurs to show that, yes, they indeed can be. So you don't have to fit a certain profile. There's lots of different types of entrepreneurs. Okay. Number 6, entrepreneurs need money. Well, if you have money, that's great, but it doesn't mean that you're going to be successful. In fact, you could make bad decisions and waste the money that you have. Sometimes when you have to bootstrap, you have to be really critical and do a very good cost-benefit analysis with the limited money that you have. And that makes better decision making. So money doesn't mean you're going to be successful. You do not have to have money or a lot of money to be successful. I've known a lot of times where I've had very little money and got a business off the ground, and we were successful. So and there's many other cases out there. Sometimes they go on to be multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar businesses that started out of a garage. I believe Apple started that way. So let's see, next one. Entrepreneurs need luck. Well, I laugh at this because I don't believe that at all. I tell my kids and my students that you have to look for the gold. There's always gold out there, and you have to constantly be looking for it. Meaning, like, there could be opportunities just lying around, but unless you're looking for them, you're not going to see them. As an entrepreneur, you start to get good at looking for those opportunities. It's not about, oh, you were in the right place at the right time and the right person. You might have a gut feeling that you needed to go to that event. Or if you happen to be at that event, maybe you said the right thing to the right person. Or you listened to what somebody else was saying and you heard something and you saw the gold and you made the right connection. So it's really about being prepared to take action when you see those opportunities and being constantly on the lookout for those opportunities. So it's not luck, it's being prepared and having the right state of mind to constantly be looking for those opportunities. Number 8, entrepreneurs are unstructured and chaotic. Well, as entrepreneurs, we have many balls up in the air that we're juggling at one time. And because from an outsider's view, people think that looks unstructured, chaotic, unfocused. But we do have a process. Yes, as an entrepreneur, sometimes it can feel a little overwhelming at times, be juggling all those balls at one time. But there is a process. We do have processes that we put in place to help us move forward. We might be, each ball, we might be like moving forward a little bit at a time. But we do have a process to our, so it's not unstructured. It's not chaotic. There is a process, and it just looks chaotic and unorganized from the outside. Most entrepreneur initiatives fail. Now, there's a lot of different statistics on this, and I recently read a new one that I get a better understanding for. Because I think in a previous, I mentioned all the failure rates. Well, I don't like the word failure, nor do I like the word mistake, because it's more about learning opportunities. And so the new statistic I found was that some of these businesses that they say failed, they actually maybe sold to a new owner. They may have decided to, oh, you know what, I'm not going to go this route. I'm going to shift my business and do something completely different. That's not a failure. That is shifting. That's moving on. Maybe they sold to somebody else. They decided to, for whatever reason, they found something better. That's not a failure. If you shift and decide to close a business and open a different business, that's not a failure. You've learned something about yourself. And I didn't bring my board here, but let's see if I can draw it. It's messy. Okay, so I like my little triangle here. I don't know if you can see it, but so at the top is you are implementing. Then the next step is you are learning. Third step is you are fine-tuning. And then you go back up to implementing. And so this triangle just continues on because we are constantly fine-tuning. And honestly, if you are not implementing, learning, and fine-tuning, your business will stagnate and it will decline. So this is a constant state that we're in. Any business should be in that state. And sometimes you might find, you know what, this business doesn't serve my individual needs. This business doesn't hit the market the way I thought it would. It's not having the right results. I'm going to close that one and open a different one that is better suited to meet the needs. So these aren't failures. These are learning opportunities and constantly changing. And the thing is, you just need to keep trying and trying again until you learn enough and fine-tune enough until you get something that is getting the result that you want, that meets the needs of your customer base. Okay, so number 10, last one. Entrepreneurs are extreme risk takers. Well, we certainly are risk takers, but let me explain an entrepreneur's risk taking. We make calculated risks. In fact, many decisions that I make, whether they're business or personal, I quick do a cost-benefit analysis in my head. And sometimes it's not in my head, sometimes I do it on paper or a spreadsheet, or sometimes I have to research. But my point is that we make calculated risks. We calculate the cost and benefits. And if we feel like the benefits outweigh the cost, then we go ahead and take that action. And I actually find in my personal life that among my non-entrepreneurial friends, that my decisions are actually much less risky because I quick do the analysis in my head and I say, wait a minute, have you considered this, and this? And they're like, oh, no, I haven't. I make calculated risks, and that's what entrepreneurs do. Again, I find that in my personal life, that when I compare my decision making, it's much less riskier than my friends. When it comes to business, maybe there's only so many risks that you have, and you're selective with those risks. And so you say, well, this is worth a risk, and this is not worth a risk. I only have so many risks I'm willing to, hand out in my life. But I do find that often I do a cost-benefit analysis. And this doesn't mean that I don't take personal enjoyment. That is a benefit. So for example, if I'm going on a vacation to Florida, I might be going down there to visit my mother-in-law. I'm going to visit my sister-in-law, my brother-in-law, my husband and my kids. We're all going down there. We're going to have so much fun, and there's so much benefit to everyone who's going. and a energy benefit to me that I know that when I come back, I'll be able to, have so much energy to put into my business that I calculate that as part of my benefit. So it's not all just financial benefits. There's lots of, benefits that we consider. But my point is that this is another myth in the marketplace, that you have to be an extreme risk taker. No, you take calculated risk. This is where that thinking comes in. We are thinkers. We do calculated risk. So I just wanted to dispel some of those myths out there, because some people think, oh, well, this isn't me. I don't fit the profile. There's not just one profile. So I just want to bring that to your attention. Next week, I'm going to be doing some Q&A again, and I want you to send in your questions. And, whether I don't want you to hold back, I want you to send them in, because I'm probably going to put together a little guide of Q&A that I want you to, that I'll have available for you. So, and so that way I'm going to look back at some of my videos, put together some Q&A questions and answers to that, or maybe I'll throw the videos all together. I'll see how that comes up, because, but please send those in and I will pull those together. Or maybe I'll just have an event where I go live and I answer your questions on the spot, maybe in a Zoom call, so it's more private if you prefer that. So in any case, make sure you send those questions in. I will look forward to those. I enjoy serving you. Till next Tuesday.